All right, guys, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Wednesday, the 23rd. And just going over, as we always do, in the trading room, some of the names that reported earnings. It looks like Lam Research, they are one of the winners for the post earnings after the close action. Note, it's kind of funny. They're just back to where they were on Friday. This group got really hit yesterday and was a little bit weak today. When it went down as quick as it went up on on Thursday and Friday. So where's this thing at? 148 in LRCCX. So it's basically going to be right back here. And if you remember, towards the end of last week, the semis were really looking interesting. And then the other name that looks like the two winners, there's a couple other names that reported too, but Xilinx, which has been in a really nice trend, Xilinx also reported after the close, and they are also, this one's a little bit different. Xilinx, I think, is just doing, it's like one of these pictures is, one of these items or is doing something different than the group, which is Xilinx. Xilinx really strong. That's up to $96, $97, and that's going to be up here. And I think that's good. That might be a 52-week high for Xilinx. So really, really impressive there, in a tough environment. So the semiconductors, I think they're up to about $90 here post market. So this is where they stalled. Remember, they stalled out here. We got above the 50-day moving average. A little bit of a stall here, right? This was on this was Friday, starting to look really interesting. So maybe this group of earnings gets this group to go. Interesting, just to kind of stick with this group. ASML, which reported last night overseas, had tough, not so good earnings, and they actually ended up, which to me tells me that the bad news is mostly priced in. After a couple names really got hit hard, like Nvidia, but ASML finished up 1.6%, which is not bad considering they turned in a really nasty quarter. All right, so that's first thing to kind of touch upon, because that was so we'll see where that takes us for the semis tomorrow, but could be an interesting group. If so, let's turn over to the indices. The main theme of what I was talking about yesterday was just basically giving this market a little bit of time to digest. And I know that's a really difficult thing to do as a trader, right? Especially if you're an active trader, full-time trader, and you kind of have to tell yourself in the beginning of the day, what am I going to trade? Is today really a good day to put on risk? As we kind of turned the corner here yesterday, but we really haven't. So looking at how we came back, we actually finished up on the day, even though it seemed like there was a little bit of volatility that hit around, basically from the morning on. And this is where it helps to have, I use the value areas a lot. This is a homemade indicator. One of my colleagues built this for Thinkorswim. It's got over 1,000 lines of code on it. But it really gives you some great support and resistance levels to kind of trade around. And I'll show you Nasdaq in just a second. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of goes back to what we were doing in December, where we would start, the futures were bid up a little bit into the open, and then we got smacked all the way down. So we hung in there for about 15 minutes. And then completely, went all the way through the value area. We did take out yesterday's lows, but we managed to come back here at the end of the day, and we're strong. Very much like a zigzag action today, and finished up. So, it was not looking good around 12 o'clock, and we did an about face. I really didn't trade too much, other than in the beginning of the day. I liked some things, and they fell kind of flat on their face, as most stocks did this. I'll go over those. I wanted to see where we were going to close today. And I'm okay being a little bit patient. Again, my mini prediction is that everybody is thinking. I just think that the market likes to do what hurts people a lot. I think when everybody tries to predict one thing, it doesn't come true, right? So I think what people are predicting is some sort of back and fill, or possibly a retest. And I think if the market wants to do the opposite of what everybody is thinking, it's probably going to hang in here a little bit. Maybe it comes down a little bit, gives a couple shake and bake days, and that's what we have so far, right? I mean, I think that would be the most frustrating for people who are really sharpening their pencils and saying, okay, we had a nice swing up, now we're going to have a swing back down. We stalled at the 50-day moving average. So I think that's what people who are really sharpening their pencils are looking at. I prefer again to kind of just watch the price action and maybe be a little bit patient after we basically got, as I said in yesterday's video, everything that we were looking for in terms of a bounce. Now we'll see where we go from here on in. So let me bring up Nasdaq because I thought that was also very compelling. Nasdaq again, we hit that resistance. Again at some point, I think that was due. Again, we have not really lost the 5-period moving average. We have not lost the 20-period moving average. I thought again that there were some pretty good levels. We talked about the Q's bottom of value yesterday. We breached that again, but just and we bounced back. So for now, it's being defended. Could we break this level tomorrow and go lower? Absolutely. Could we continue to go higher? Sure. And I think we just kind of have to watch and make sure that you're honoring if you're taking a couple shots. Like I've been doing that today. I'm getting a little bit chopped up. I did that yesterday in Visa. I decided just to get out of it. I didn't like how the market was looking in the first couple hours. And really, Visa, this is, if you go into a trade for a particular reason and then that reason changes, I don't want to just sit and be stubborn with the position. So I was looking for a breakout in Visa. Intraday, it looked like it was going to happen, but we did not close there, and this is where we are. So what you do with it, or what I do anyway, you just kind of start over. Hey, this is not what I expected to happen. This was not the reasoning for my technical trade. And then I'll just sit and maybe it happens because sometimes what happens is a couple of days later, it will make that move. So, right now, I'm completely out of it, but I would watch for a break higher. So again, sometimes it just takes a couple days, but it's sitting in no man's land right now. All right, so that's Visa. But again, good to kind of walk through this and understand the process. And if it's not there, right? I mean, no one is going to have all winners. It's just part of the game to be a little bit comfortable with. Yeah, actually, like I feel actually pretty good about following my system. Again, not every trade is there's no one has 100% winners. So it's really good to kind of. I have more confidence in following my system than in any individual pick, and I think that's the good way to mention that. Let me go to the 5-minute on the Qs because there were some good levels in here as well. This was what we were looking at in the beginning of the day. Again, using the value areas, we could not get outside of value. That was the first thing, and we talked about that because we were bid at, right after the open. We just could not get through that top of value. Again, perfect flag, right? I mean, and you're not really seeing that anywhere else, right? So that's the beauty of the value areas is that the perfect tag. We actually broke below the 5-minute. Try to get back in, and I thought, oh no, we might retest and fall apart here. But we actually ended up getting into value and climbing throughout the session. One more look at we'll do IWM as well. IWM I kind of just looked at briefly. It just looked like more of a choppy trade today. It did get at the end of the day into value, which I think is a good sign. Just finished down fractionally, 20 basis points, so I guess underperformed the Qs just by a little bit today. But again, really nothing to kind of jump up and down about either way. If this thing gets above value, that's where I would be a buyer. So again, alert set for IWM. Just to go through a couple names, I was looking at Amazon a lot today, looking at some of the payment processors as well. I already mentioned Visa, but I was looking at PayPal. I have an alert set on PayPal, nothing to do there yet. So Amazon is same thing. It's kind of caught in the middle of no man's land. You have to kind of wait. If you want to speculate with a small position, so be it. But it's kind of caught between the 200-day moving average and the 50-day moving average. No trade yet. Even though I put on a trade yesterday, thinking that this would run into earnings. The week's not over, so I still have a chance in that trade. But really, from a technical aspect, you just kind of have to wait. We'll see if it holds that 20 in the 50-day moving average, and it's sitting below the 200. So give it a couple days and we'll see what happens. Maybe it's waiting for earnings to make that next move. So that's one. Netflix, it's now been 3 days since earnings. Netflix was a little bit weak. One of the things that we pointed out was there was a Virgin point of control, an area of high volume that was taken out today to the downside. So that's good if you're looking to play Netflix as for a long. Notice there's another one down here. But keep an eye on this tomorrow now that it's been 3 days since earnings. Maybe due for a little bit of a return back. Also, just holding that 20-day moving average, which again is not bad after a big move. All right, so we're sitting there again. Also, a little bit no man's land, caught between the 50 and the 20-day moving average. A couple other names which I was a little bit surprised at today. Workday made a intraday 52-week high and really backed away. So this was the story all over the place. And after IBM reported, IBM finished up 8.5%, up $10, but the enterprise group just did not have any follow through today and looked a bit ugly. Zen was another name that looked beautiful about 10 o'clock this morning, but a shooting star type looking candle. I did buy into QLYS today. Same thing. They all kind of look the same. For now, I held this name, although I don't like the candle. I was looking for this to kind of break above. This was a name that I talked about at the end of the day yesterday. Put on the radar. It hit an alert for me intraday, and I decided to jump in because I saw basically everything running in the first 15 minutes in this group. Unfortunately, it just got squashed. And I think Zen is a good one. And there's a whole bunch of these names. So sometimes they do take a little bit of a rest, and maybe that's what they're going to do here. But pretty interesting first hour of the day for names like Zen. Goes all the way up to 66.82, and as fast as it goes up, it goes down. A couple other groups that I thought were a little bit interesting today. Maybe something that may be off your radar. The utilities, which we have a utilities trade on right now. I have some March calls that is starting to work. I actually want to take this trade off right around the 50-day moving average, but kind of getting the move that I'm looking for at this point out of this congestion. Also, a couple defensive names. Let's just look at the XLP just for a second, and then I'll detail a couple names in here. But some strength in the staples. A little bit going to be hitting that 200-day moving average, non-dividend adjusted. A couple names that I like in this group. Coca-Cola made a nice move, consolidation. We looked at Coca-Cola, I think about a week ago, and it kind of made a false move. I think it was this day, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, and now looks like it's just got out of this consolidation period. Let's just see. I know Pepsi doesn't look bad either. McDonald's is another name that I've been watching. Had another strong day, up 80 basis points. So again, a little bit outside of the, out of tech and the Q's names and software names, but McDonald's making a nice move. That reports earnings shortly as well. Listen, a lot of names are going to be reporting earnings, so it's going to be hairy in terms of that. Some other names that so I mentioned the semis in the beginning of the video. Las Vegas Sands. They missed both on the top line and the bottom line. So I think this is kind of what we're going to see in terms of earnings. We're going to see a couple names that, the names that execute very well are going to have good quarters. The names that maybe are in a little bit more of a challenging environment, maybe not as sound businesses, are going to do this type of thing. So that's it. Kind of shorter video today because I'm meeting up for a trader meetup in New York City for a quick happy hour. So hope to see you guys there if you can make it. We're going over to the to Amity, Amity Hall in the Village. So that's it for today. Again, kind of take one day at a time. Try not to read too much into things and read too much on what people are saying on Twitter. Seems like a lot of traders on Twitter are battling with one another over views, which I think is a complete waste of time. I'm here to trade and make money, not to, and the other thing is what's really negative about that when you're battling your views you become anchored to your views. So as you get new information, and you want to be very fluid and adjust to new information, not stay perma anything. So just one final say or note about that. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.